Bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue dans un nouvel épisode d'Innovatage. Innovatage, c'est la combinaison d'un produit ou un service inclusif innovant et un reportage sur le créateur de ce produit. Que nous soyons enfants ou adultes, jeunes ou âgés, avec ou sans particularité, même si je pense que nous en avons tous une si nous creusons bien, nous méritons tous de trouver une place au sein de la société. C'est depuis Londres que je vais vous présenter un objet qui bouge sans renverser son contenu, ainsi que son créateur, et vous montrer qu'en observant bien son entourage ou la société, nous pouvons tous être acteurs d'inclusivité sans être forcément touchés par une particularité à titre individuel. Aujourd'hui, avec nous, Chris. Hi, Chris. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, so my name's Chris. I'm director of a company called HandSteady Limited, which specialise in helping people have a good quality of life despite a long-term health condition by making the activity of drinking easier.
Okay, thank you. In the market, there are many products that improve people's lives. What is your product that you created?
Okay, so my product is a non-spill cup, which has got a rotatable handle, and this enables the cup to stay upright despite the handle being held at different angles. So people with reduced motion in their hands or in their neck can bring it to their mouth without having to bend their wrist. And then it can be tilted in a number of ways without having to twist your wrist. So you can lift it up like this, press your thumb down like that, use your different hands and things. So people with tremor can hold it in positions where tremor is less. So the elbows can be tucked in, like so. The arm can be held like that, and the tremor can only really go in that way. So for many people, tremor they can carry it from the kitchen to the lounge and even to their mouth just by holding it like this. So this is it. So it's called HandSteady non-spill cup with a rotatable handle, and it also has a hidden lid. And this is the lid. And the idea here is that it's very discreet, and so you can drink through it like a normal kind of lid, but the idea is that you kind of easily press it down without having to use much strength, position it in the way that you want, and as you can see, it's quite discreet to retain dignity. But of course, having a lid has got a number of other benefits of keeping the drinks hotter for longer or cooler for longer if you're having a cold drink, and it can further reduce any potential spillages. So we designed it to look like a fine bone china coffee cup, and so the depth of the thickness of the walls is quite thin. It is made out of a high quality plastic that is microwave safe and dishwasher safe, and we've colour matched it to bone china, but it has that kind of, so the white is slightly kind of porcelain bone china like, and so we've designed it like that to be as normal looking as possible. And as a result of that, I mean, even I get confused sometimes about if this is a normal cup or if it's one of or if it's a specialist cup. So yes, that's the product, and there are other benefits. So like if you're bed bound or you're in a wheelchair, you can kind of reach out for it like this, and you can bring it to your mouth without having to twist your body. So people with ME or chronic fatigue syndrome, for example, or people that are sick that are finding even the smallest effort, quite takes up a lot of energy, they can just reach out for it, for example, when it's on their bed, not even have to lift up as much, because you don't normally when we sit up in bed, it's because for having a comfortable angle to tilt. So tilt the cup, whereas this one you can bring it right to your mouth and with increased control. Like that. I guess the final point to make is that for a carer can hold it close to an individual's mouth, taking the weight of the cup and the liquid, but then the individual can control the tilt, or the carer can. It's a more comfortable and safer experience for the caregiver, and a more dignifying experience for the individual who has got control over the tilt and when to tilt it. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And how did you come up with this idea?
I came up with the idea because my father has got Parkinson's disease, and I remember seeing him in the lounge and seeing that his when he was holding the cup. So so an example. He was moving like this, and I could see two things. Firstly, that it was unsafe for him, and another thing is from a dignity perspective. Whilst he wasn't actually spilling it at that point, I could see it was. My eyes were going on to his disability or his symptoms of his health condition, rather than necessarily just focusing on him, because maybe it's because it was one of the first times I was really seeing it. And so I was at the Royal College of Art doing a master's in industrial design engineering and had to come up with a project idea. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to have an object that could go between the hand of someone who has tremor and an object they're holding, whether that's a pen or whether that's lipstick or a drinking cup. And so I used electronics and motors. We measured motion, pushed things in the opposite direction. That was working fine. But what we found when we were testing it with people is that the motion was very fine. And the best way of keeping something still and steady was to use gravity and ball bearings. So we got rid of the electronics and focused just on the activity of drinking. Initially, it was a holder. But what we found is that people that are using it are going to be using it in general all the time. And we found that from a physics perspective, because that was my degree, was in physics, my first degree, the closer that you can take the handle to the axis of gravity, the less heavy it feels, and the more stable the experience. So that's why we made it integrated into the cup, the idea of the ball bearing. So that was that. But what we found is that a lot of people were benefiting it more than just people with Parkinson's and tremor, but also with arthritis and other things. So then we worked with people in about over 100 different individuals with different health conditions and health experts to refine it and so on. So that's the product.
Okay. It reminds me when I first created the inclusive mask.
Yes.
In the beginning, it was aiming to the surrounding of deaf people, but then quickly it expands to anybody because we could see the smile, the face, so it's very impressive.
It can be like that, can't it? With in the sort of focusing on trying to solve one problem. And I think when you are doing product development or any kind of project, there can be a lot of simplicity if you focus in on one particular type of audience or user of whatever you're developing. And then you can then start expanding it. It's a lot simpler rather than trying to focus on, like, for example, when I started this, I was wanting to create a device that could help 35 activities of daily living that were challenging because of tremor, but actually it was too complicated. And by focusing just on the activity of drinking, it was made a lot easier. So I can see that, and it happens, doesn't it? It evolves and stuff, and then you get ideas. Your imagination starts going, well, what about this type of user? What about that type of user? And we found a lot of people with MS were using it, and those with restricted motion, that might be due to weakness. Mm-hmm. So they would say they'd take a cup like this. Because of the weakness in the wrist with some of the users that we had, they would use the other hand like this to control that tilt. And so that highlighted the benefit of of having a handle like this, so they could then hold it like that and then control the tilt. But I remember one person with multiple sclerosis. I had a very small handle, which I thought looked really elegant, and it was, you put your finger, it was lovely. And then we also tried a larger handle like this, which is a power grip handle, because you can have all 4 fingers in it. And he said that the small one was like hell, and this was like heaven. So I thought, okay, that's clear. We should just go for a larger handle then.
And how long did it take from the idea to the, let's say, the production?
It took quite a lot of years, actually. It was 6 years. But I was doing it alongside other projects and other things. So, but what happened early on is, because we exhibited the initial concept at the Royal College of Art's end of degree programme exhibition, the BBC covered it, BBC News, and then off the back of that, many other media outlets covered the idea. And I had about 400 emails from different people saying, I would like to have this type of product. When will it become available? I need this type of thing. And essentially, the implication was that the existing provision of other products wasn't meeting the requirements for people. And so there was just something in me that kind of kept it alive. And we had some technical issues to work through, because initially it was a holder, and then we went on to integrating it into a cup. And it was the first time I'd ever done this. Yes, the process took a lot longer, and I think knowing what I know now, it would be a lot quicker.
Okay, that's impressive. When we start a project, there are many obstacles. I remember mine was the time, because it was during the lockdown, and we needed this product to be available within a few weeks, maximum 1 month. What kind of obstacle did you face?
The obstacles I faced, and there was a number. One of them was the technical challenge of the ball bearings, to be able to hold the ball bearing. So the way that this works is that it has ball bearings inside of it, but everything has to be very sort of low friction, and that's a technical challenge. So I talked to someone I know, who's a tutor, who designs lots of foldable bikes. He was at the college, and he said, I know this guy that is very good at making models and being able to think things through. And so then I worked with him, and it was a joy to work with him, and it changed the tone, actually, because there were 2 of us creatively problem solving on the detailed engineering of it. So that was really good, to have someone to help on that. Another one was raising funding, because I was surprised at how much it costs to do, because this is made using an injection molding process, and that cost a lot of money to create the steel tooling, to have the designs, and there was quite a lot of components within that. So I talked with people, and found that there was this one foundation that was providing loan funding and so on. So I approached them, because it was in my part of where I was living in London, and it aligned with their objectives, and they provided the funding. The bank didn't, but they did. So it was a really good enabling piece of funding.
They believed in this project?
Yes, they did believe in it. Yes, and they were willing to take a risk on it. And they normally provided grants, but they were wanting to support entrepreneurs, but also a lot of entrepreneurial clinicians, not just people who, not just local residents. I guess another difficulty was also finding a manufacturer to do it, because it was the first time. And I went to a university and I asked they were like an incubator, had a sort of a facility where you could make things as well as do things on computer aided design. And I asked them who they knew, and they knew of someone that was an expert in plastics. I met with them, and then they knew of a tool maker that could design the tools, and they happened to do production too. So then I managed to find a few others as well, and I did a competitive tendering process. So I provided the specification, got back the quotes, which and it confirmed that this organisation that I'd found was a good fit. And so we started producing these samples in China, but the quality was good. And rather than bringing the tooling over to the UK, we continued to work in China. And that's, so those are the obstacles. I guess it's money, finding a manufacturer, and then just resolving the design.
It's kind of like a creative process?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, finding the right people to give you the answers or know how to do things.
It's very important.
Is very important, isn't it? And I think the role of entrepreneurs in this day and age, when there are many people that can do things for you and that you can find them through the internet, through freelancing websites or other means, I think it's very important to think about what you want to get done, what your outcomes and success criteria would be for something. And then you then think, I figure out how it's done, or alternatively I think about who knows how it's done and who can help me. And so I think that was really helpful. And something I didn't really pick up a moment ago was that we had some delays with the manufacturing and the design, where we had to wait for the finance to come through and things. And my wife said to me, why don't you do more testing and maybe refine the product even more? And it was a very helpful process, because we did really transform the handle into a much more subtle one, and ended up speaking to a lot more people. And so it could help many more people, because sometimes with an investment, which is the price of a new car, to create the steel tooling, you want to try and get it right as best you can, because it could last for at least 100,000 units.
So you just gave a few pieces of advice. What would be your best advice you would say to a soon-to-be entrepreneur?
If it involves the main advice, oh gosh, it's a really good question, because I think one of the things that I'm always keen on, despite it taking me a long time to produce this, is with other projects that I'm involved in now, is thinking about how can you get shortcuts, how can you get there quicker? And asking other people that question is who've done it before is really helpful. And surrounding yourself with advisors is really helpful. I mean, I think for me, what I would recommend probably for people that are developing physical products is to go straight to a factory or manufacturer and just start talking with them, asking, if they can make some prototypes, what's possible. And because that's the reality, then you're speaking with reality and you're taking things from the idea and you're just making it. And it's amazing what you've done with only a matter of weeks, you were able to create your product. And the momentum that you got from that was amazing. And I think, yes, this type of plastic product might have different timelines because of the molding process. But these celebrity entrepreneurs that we see on our televisions and others, if they have an idea, they know the right people and they've got everything set up and they can produce it quickly. So if they can do that, why can't we in some ways? And so sometimes it's challenging yourself with that thinking.
Since the mask, I have so many ideas. My mind is very creative. Is it like this for you also?
Yes, yeah, particularly if I give myself permission, to do so, because Yeah, the ideas flow once you start sort of giving yourself that space, I think. And I think once you achieve goals and so on, imagination kind of then comes up with bigger goals or different goals.
Especially if it helps people.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you know this. Your clients will be emailing you. How can you do this? Have you got these? And I think that's it. I mean, once people solve the activity of drinking and make it easier again. What other challenges do they have? Once they've solved a really good solution for face masks and stuff. What are the other needs that they have, and what are the other equally life-changing solutions that are out there or that could be developed. And one of my tutors at Design College, who's a prolific inventor, he said, and designer, he says, if you apply yourself to design and thinking about like taking any product, really, he believes that you'll always be able to find ways of innovating on that and improving on that. And sometimes it does, yeah. The trick is to think about how to sort of spend your time, right? I mean, how are you spending your time with all these ideas? What are you doing to...
I believe you don't have enough time to make things happen, but it's important to focus on one thing step by step. And
do you write down your ideas?
I do, because otherwise my mind would be overflowing. One last question. What is inclusivity for you?
Inclusivity in general is, for me, I believe it's everyone having opportunities, and all having opportunities, and that equal opportunities, and thinking about all when you're making and growing things. And I think in terms of inclusive design, it's about, and that includes like the interface with the public in terms of like packaging and the websites and things, but also with the products, is thinking how can we make a product that is appealing and attractive to all, but particularly helpful for those that you're wanting to really help with it.
And Chris, what makes you an entrepreneur?
I think, well, for me, my strengths are in starting things. And I quite like this idea for any project or business. It's of, you make it up, you make it real, and then you make it recur. And the making it up, thinking about what's the next big thing for your business, or what is the product that you're creating, has got a certain skill set. It's thinking about the future, it's creating the future. Well, I think entrepreneurs are different to those that aren't entrepreneurs in terms of they're willing to take a risk, they know they need to create value for the world before they can then receive value. And they also have decided that only they are responsible for their financial means and their income, and that they are not giving out that responsibility to an employer, but they're going out to make that opportunity. And I think part of it is, whereas an employee in a corporation is excited by stability, perhaps, and having that stable, secure kind of income base, what might be exciting for an entrepreneur is opportunity, and pursuing that. And so I think there are some distinguishing features, and I think it's also helpful for entrepreneurs in terms of language that is used. Sort of successful people, entrepreneurs, may use different types of language, like in English, like winner or multiplier, or things like this, probably worth not talking about the language actually. So hopefully has that provided some helpful sort of thoughts on?
It's true. Earlier you talked about the obstacles, but during the project development or inside the business, there are obstacles, but there are also good memories or positive things that happens. What was your best memories or?
So the best memories, the first time I put a ball, I mean, I had a problem with my product because I had 2 sets of ball bearings and a ring, and it was all very complicated. And one Christmas day, I had a dream in the morning, and an old man said to me, "It's nice, it's fine, but how about you make it simpler?" So then I thought, okay, well, let's just make the handle rotate rather than a handle and a little ring like a gyroscope. And so I went onto the computer, made the design, got the 3D prototype made, rapid prototyping, tested it with someone with tremor. And when I first put the ball bearings inside the handle, I thought I was excited because I thought this was really working well. A really simple version of it, rather than all this complicated thing. And I was very excited at the potential there. I was also excited when I met people, and good memories are around all the different people that I was meeting and refining the product with. I mean, it wasn't all smooth sailing. It didn't work for everyone, but for those it did work for, there was a genuine difference that it was making, and that gave me a lot of motivation. And then, obviously, seeing the physical product was great when it was made and delivered to my address.
Thank you very much, Chris, for this chat. It was very interesting to get your insight as a business entrepreneur.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to meet you, and great to hear about also your successes, and wish you very much success in the future too.
Yeah. Thank you. So cheers to our future.
Cheers to our futures.
Si vous aussi, vous êtes créatrice ou créateur d'un produit innovant, inclusif, nous souhaitons vous rencontrer. Alors, n'hésitez pas à nous écrire à innovatage@pincl.com. Et si ce produit vous intéresse, il est disponible sur notre site pincl.com. Et n'oubliez pas de vous abonner à notre chaîne pour découvrir de nouveaux créateurs.